Hello. Um, so on Wednesday night, in the event that a lot of you may have heard about, where protesters and some lawyers were kettled, a group of people in orange tops called the Orange Shirts around town formed a line between the police and the protesters. They were not with protesters. They are a group called Minneapolis, spelled with a US. You have to turn off your spell check on your phone if you're looking at it on your phone. And it's my understanding that they started telling the protesters what to do, and the protesters cooperated. And the protesters were then illegally kettled, in violation of their freedom, of their right to protest, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Some of the lawyers on the bus were also arrested after they started yelling out the number for people to call. And the people in the orange, Minneapolis people, were allowed to leave. So when you are at a protest and you do not get arrested, it looks like you're with the cops. That is an objective fact. It doesn't matter what your intentions were. The outcome is you now look like you work with the cops. Period. Fast forward to Friday night. The yellow shirts from 38th and Chicago come up to another peaceful protest where I am in attendance in what I will call a formation and an aggressive approach. I talked to one of them and told them what we were doing. And while I was saying, hey, we're all good here, we got food, whatever, a group of protesters came up behind me and wanted to get information, but had a very accusatory way of approaching it. But of course, a lot of people were not feeling this group suddenly showing up, certainly not showing up the way that they did. And also, some of them were people that were kettled a few nights ago. So this is supposed to be an organization that the city of Minneapolis has formed. And from what I can perceived from the information that I gathered, it's a group that they put together made up of very marginalized people, majority black men from what I saw, that are ex-cons, felons, and ex-gang members. They put out this program with these people having no de-escalation training, no conflict resolution training, and I'm going to say, from what I perceived from their approach and how things escalated, the same thing they teach the police. However, this group is unarmed. So there's some back and forth. I do my best to de-escalate and say, hey, these people that are the point of contention are here now. So now this is our chance to talk to them and see what's really going on. There were people who do not agree with any kind of de-escalation. And as soon as I was out of sight to go empty my bladder, the organizer for that event said they need to leave. They didn't take kindly to that because they unfortunately have this gang mentality that they take personal ownership of everything that goes on in the community. And they left eventually, but not without some cusses and threats, including but not limited to, I better not see you on 38th in Chicago. So then they go talk to the group that was there at the protest at the 5th Precinct, and they come over also in tactical formation. They come over across the street, they all group up, and they all collectively cross the street to come talk to us. And that doesn't go well either. There's a whole bunch of them trying to prove themselves in their own individual character. Pretty much everything except, who are you? Where do you get your funding from? Are you affiliated with the police? And if you're not, why were you not arrested like the rest of us? The best answer that I got out of one of them was that it would look bad for them to arrest an outreach group. But have you considered that the Minneapolis Police Department does not care about their image, because while they let you go, they still violated people's civil rights to an assembly and a protest, and even arrested lawyers after they were calling out the help resources to get those people out of jail if they weren't let out the next day, or if things were to escalate, whatever, however you want to put that. So they definitely succeeded in making the MinneapoLUS people look bad amongst the rest of the community and the protesters. They definitely succeeded in putting people in solitary, confiscating their things, and then not giving them back, which is stealing. And now, this group of people, mostly men, all black from what I saw, with this certain background, are now being painted as working with the police. And these are people that don't take kindly to that. They don't want to be affiliated with working with the police because they've all been through the system, and that fucking system is terrible. That is where our exception to fascism and slavery comes from. Though our prison system is fascist and slavery, and it's absolutely ingrained fascism for us to be taught that we shouldn't care about prisoners, and the abuse that they suffer is deserved, when at the same time we're told that prison is a rehabilitation and they are expected to re-enter the community and society peacefully and seamlessly, when we out here continue to punish them after they've served their time. They can't get food stamps. They have a hard time finding a job. Most people don't hire felons and ex-cons, and other people just don't trust them. And then we just roll our eyes when they end up right back in the system because they couldn't get any services or any jobs or whatever to try to pull themselves up. And the cycle continues. And we're told, as the rest of society, to not care. So this group of people, they picked a group of people that have been put through the wash and the ringer already to now build this image. So from what I understand, that Minneapolis is a violence de-escalation thing. It is one of the programs that they're trying out to move away from police being their only form of safety. But those displays that we saw on Wednesday night and Friday night were not it. And everything else I have to say really just goes into my observations of how the continuation of how ex-cons and felons and ex-gang members continue to be abused by the system. So I guess there's no need for me to go into that because I don't know what people are thinking, but I know what happened, and I know the results of what happened. And now this whole group of people that I truly believe are trying to rebuild themselves and do something positive are now being scapegoated and are put in a bad position because they don't have the proper training from what I saw, they don't even do any kind of ethics evaluation, because as soon as there was conflict, people were okay with name calling and threats, and don't come into our territory, when this is supposed to be all of our community, and there aren't supposed to be territories if you're trying to dismantle gang violence. So the resolve here is abundantly clear. Get them the proper training that they need to interact with the rest of the community, and not just the communities that they've been, I'm going to say, ingrained in for such a long period of time. Because jail, prison, and gangs, those are all traumatizing experiences. And I'm totally down with people that are de-escalating that, people that are getting young people to not even get into gangs in the first place, all that. I'm for all that. But that, which we saw, we're not going to take that in our communities. So, City of Minneapolis, plug that project back up, put it through the wash as many times as you need to, throw it in the dryer or put it out on the line, because that stank. It had mold and mildew, and we're not going to wear that. Thank you so much for your time, and I do hope to see improvements as quickly as possible for yet another government-funded, tax-funded program that I am expected, we are expected to continue to fuel. We already have this group of armed people in our neighborhoods killing Black, brown, LGBTQ, disabled, ignoring rapes that we already have to pay for, and we're sick of that as it is. Please don't make the situation worse with this already marginalized group of people.